Joining me now, former State Department Senior Advisor Christian Whiton. Christian, to a degree, I think this is not necessarily surprising. In fact, what was the surprise were the waivers in the first place. These countries have had an opportunity to adjust. Several of them actually said that they've actually stopped importing Iranian oil. Everyone, though, focused on China here, the relationship there. And I must note that when Pompeo made this announcement, he said 7 countries and Taiwan, sort of suggesting that they're not an official country, maybe as a sort of olive branch to China. How's this all going to play out?
Well, yeah, trying to give an olive branch or be reasonable to China just doesn't work, especially on Taiwan, a free country, democracy that they like to threaten to invade any chance they get. What's happened has been a long, deliberative process in the administration. The reason the waivers were granted were not necessarily to be nice to China and India, but to also avoid a situation where oil prices and gasoline prices here domestically spiked up too quickly. The administration has done a lot to ensure. So if these 1.2 million barrels per day of Iranian oil, which should go down to just a couple 100,000, that can be made up for, in particular by Saudi capacity. They have about 2 million barrels per day in free capacity. So a long diplomatic process finally coming to a head.
Although you've got the Venezuelan oil situation, you've got the situation in Libya, so it's not just Iranian oil. Would there be an option to also tap into our strategic reserves?
I think that's not being contemplated yet. That's something that presidents, of course, threaten to do at times, especially when they think that market speculation has gotten ahead of reality with oil prices. I haven't heard that discussed. There is a lot of attention. The president actually just switched policies on Libya as well, supporting General Haftar, who has made a move on Tripoli, who speaks for most of the oil assets in the country and might actually bring an end to the war and bring some stability to that country. He just switched from frankly, supporting a UN process. That has failed. Right. But the big picture here, I think, is taking potentially up to $2 billion a month from Iran in cash. That's a pretty big change geopolitically. It's
a pretty big change geopolitically. How does the administration articulate this to the Iranian people, particularly those who have actually been pushing back in ways that had not been seen since the revolution? How do they say, listen, we know that a lot of this is going to be taken out on you. The economic brunt of this will be taken out on those folks who are trying to get their own freedom. And at the same time, we're saying we're not deliberately trying to engineer regime change.
Right. Well, we frankly, you don't know. I guess we can't call it regime change, but we should absolutely be rooting for a replacement of the current Islamist government, which does not enjoy popular support. Secretary of State Pompeo addressed this and basically said we don't want people from this radical revolutionary streak in Iran running the government. So, we are sort of threading a line as to what you say. I think the end of the line is the president needs to try to speak directly to the Iranian people in a way that President Obama did not, to say we are absolutely with you in your quest for freedom. And that goes a long way. If you talk to people in repressive situations, especially after they become free, they say that U.S. pressure, including economic pressure that can cause short-term pain within the country, right, is absolutely worth it to get freedom.
Real quick, I've got to ask you about Easter in Sri Lanka and the attack on the Christians there. Where does the administration, how do they handle this? What role will they take?
Absolutely, we need to realize we're still in a global contest against Islamism, political Islam, the ideology that animates the Muslim Brotherhood and all the way to al-Qaeda, something the Democrats today are completely unable to name. Sort of like going back to Benghazi, they're unable to name the actual animating force of our enemies, and working with anyone around the globe who's willing to resist political Islam ought to be a top priority.
Yeah, I just saw last week Congo had their first ISIS attack, and now Sri Lanka, where maybe 7% of the people there are Christian. So they're spreading out. Maybe some people say this is a form of desperation, but certainly it was a devastating blow to humanity. Christian, it's always great to have these conversations with you in these days. Thank you.